to see you. Yes, my name is Bayo. Bayo Igoh. I founded my practice, which is Igoh Coaching, 5 years ago. Just give a brief story about myself. I worked 30 odd years in social housing, and for one reason or other, the glass ceiling was impenetrable, and I got made redundant for the third time in a 30-year period. And I just said to myself, why me? How come? What can I do differently? And the basic line was to work for myself. I had never done so before, but the opportunity arose. But one skill set I did have, taken through my 30 years, was performance, management and leadership. And I apparently excelled in that, but was never good enough to take the top run. So I became a coach and a mentor, and I was really interested in leadership and management, and I then became interested in small businesses. Because when you work for yourself, invariably you have to set up a business, and it's not something you're taught in school. You're not really taught financial literacy, you're not taught about business acumen, you're not taught about the highs and the lows of running a business. And when I set up my business, it became apparent to me that a number of other people were suffering or equally were not given the skill sets too. So I pivoted, to use the word that we've been using for the past 2 years, to try to support small businesses. I met Leon and Francine on a various number of social media networking platforms, WhatsApp being the main one, and I was fascinated by the work that they're trying to do within the community. And one of the things that you pick up in housing is community, and I've worked for a number of local authorities, first Lambeth, where I was born and bred, Southwark, Wandsworth, Westminster, housing associations and private sector companies. And when you work in the social housing sector, you meet communities across the board. Diversity, as my father used to say, is a given. Inclusion is a choice. And sometimes, unfortunately, we're not given those choices. And sometimes those people in power make the incorrect choices. So when I started to put my own jigsaw puzzle together, it was, how can I help our communities build burgeoning business communities? How can we create this on a wider scale? And the only way to do that is to bang on doors, to make noise and support the likes of Lee and the likes of Francine. And how I'm doing that at the moment is I'm working with another black-led social entrepreneurial organisation called Kinara. And Kinara are bringing together 20 social entrepreneurs to go through a period of growth, and I'm supporting them in that growth, trying to get them to think, and I say openly, about the things that they're not taught, the things that they need to take into consideration. How to grow, how to create partnerships and collaborations, how to drive their businesses, and most importantly, how to make noise. Because if you don't ask, you don't get. And even when you do ask, you probably won't get because you're not asking the right questions. But you need to start by asking the questions. You need to start by collaborating with people who have done what you do. Reinventing the wheel is always done. But it's somebody else's wheel you're going to copy, you're just improving it. But if you don't ask them how have they done that, where do they do that, and how do they get the drive to do what they're doing, then they won't move forward. And as Leon and Francine will tell you, as others will tell you too, some of the things that I ask you to think about when setting up a business, identify your purpose. What are you doing it for? Who are you doing it with? What's your mission? What are your values? And really, what is your goal? And your goals are important, because if you don't have goals, you won't have a plan. She who fails to plan, plans to fail. It's the truth. Because all you're going to do is run around, and not get anywhere. And people who have a plan will fly past you. And it doesn't have to be a business plan. It doesn't have to be 30, 40 pages of detailed stuff. It just needs to identify what you want to achieve. Today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next quarter, next year. Because with that in mind, you know what targets you've set yourself. With that in mind, you know obstacles you need to overcome. With that in mind, you know where to go, who to ask to get you over that hump, to grow. And business, if you don't appreciate it, is about growth. It's about making money. Now what you do with that money is down to you. You need to make money. And the only way to make money is to grow. If you don't grow, you stand still. If you stand still, you become stagnant. And if you become stagnant, you fail. So growth is important. So my work with small businesses, social entrepreneurs, is to get them to think big. Nothing wrong with thinking big, and then take incremental steps towards that growth, towards that dream. But you must have, you don't have to, but it helps to have that dream. So if you want to know how I work, it's coaching, mentoring, we work one-to-one, we work group sessions. The one-to-one are private, confidential sessions where I ask you deep and challenging questions. As Leon says, I'm a bit efficient. What it means is I don't take prisoners. It's tough out there. It's very tough out there. And so in order for you to think about where you want to go, you need to be effective and efficient too. Don't say you're going to do something if you haven't looked at how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, and most importantly, is it going to sustain you? If you're going to run a side hustle, there's nothing wrong with running a side hustle. But you're going to need to know the time, the capacity, and the resources it will take out of your life. If you want to run a business, times that by X. If you want to run a successful business, times that by X to the power of whatever it is you need to take that business to another level.